Well, okay then. It's another Thursday, and this is Real Monsters, and I am S.K. Barrett. And joining me is the ever popular Wes Hobrick.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Oh, YouTube's doing something weird. Oh, there we go. Wait, create a channel to join the chat. I was about to
What?
type something.
What?
It says say something, but when I try to click on it, what the hell? It's acting weird. But
That
I
is
can
weird.
try to get back into it as we're
Okay, that's
doing
fine.
this.
Um, so
It
there's
is so
something.
weird.
Um, s- I want. I want to do a new thing. Since we talk about some pretty grisly shit on this show. I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of the topic. So I'm going to I'm going to start off the show. We'll see how this goes. But maybe it'll be a regular thing. I'm going to start off with a puppy picture as a kind of, you know, uh, offset for the grisliness of our topics. So here's Emerald on the sofa.
Oh, hi,
She's a nut.
Yeah, living with you, I would imagine.
Hey now. It's
uh,
although I do have to say, having had several dogs and them all being very unique characters, I guess I am the common denominator
yeah, well, definitely. Um, yeah, she's a great looking pup.
there. Yeah, she's a sweetie. She's a lunatic, but she's sweet.
Aww.
So we got a couple of
uh,
news things we'll talk about, right?
yeah. Um, I don't know if people saw it on the Facebook page. A very interesting interview out of either Australia or New Zealand with their AM show that's very popular over there. I know we have some listeners who live down in that hemisphere, and they had a guy on there who goes by the Coffin Confessor. He is a private investigator who is paid by the deceased, usually when they're on their deathbeds,
Yeah.
to crash their funerals and to spill secrets, basically.
Oh
Um,
man.
he said he
How?
is, as far as he knows, the only guy in the world who's doing this. Um, but I thought it
What a
was
great job.
so, yeah. And I think there's some moral justification there as well because he was talking about all these times where, he would see, excuse me, I'm swallowing wrong there, um, where he would see these people who would show up at the funerals who, they might be heirs who were trying to screw over their
Right.
parents in life, or they might be people who um, were business rivals, or they paid barely any attention to
Right.
the deceased when they were alive. And he literally said in the interview, stand up and telling them, fuck you, get out of here, you have no business being here. I thought that was great
That's
when
fantastic.
I heard that.
I
Yeah,
got
it takes balls.
yeah. Um, along there is the concept. I first heard of it from the Ender's Game author Orson Scott Card. The sequel to Ender's Game is called Speaker for the Dead, and Ender
Oh, wow.
travels the galaxy um, to give eulogies. He gets paid to give eulogies all around the galaxy, and his stick is that he tells the unvarnished truth about their lives.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah, and that's essentially what this guy is
yeah,
paid to do when he
it's
goes
cool that
around.
somebody's actually would want to have that done.
Yeah, I wonder, they didn't really get into how he got his first client, but I suspect it might have been somebody who, in his typical stock and trade as a PI, might have asked him on their
Yeah,
deathbed to do it, and then he thought, hey, maybe there's business
yeah,
to be
maybe.
done with this. He did say with that sometimes at the funerals he would get people who might have walked away angry from what he did, but
Hmm.
then they think about it and then they come back to him.
Yeah,
And they
and it's because it is flies in the face of
propriety.
social
Yeah.
norms for funeral behavior, right?
Mhm. Oh, absolutely. And absolutely. And he said he got a few clients out of them. Um, those people walking back.
Awesome.
But yeah, I wonder how much he gets paid. That would be,
Yeah.
man.
That,
Of
that'd
course,
be
he
a
didn't get
wild
into
job,
that.
wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you'd have to really know how to dig. Well, I mean, you have to do that, being a PI anyway,
Right.
and getting into some weird situations.
Well,
But
if you get hired before death, then um, you know you, you shouldn't have to dig that hard.
yeah, 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 with a lot of those clients, most definitely. But I mean, it's, as you can imagine, it's been everything from crimes that have came out, um, that he would say at the funerals when he said his usual MO for it is interrupting a eulogy when somebody's up there. So
Oh,
even
that's
if it's
well.
even if it's an officiate, even if it's a
Well,
priest or a
I would think
pastor.
especially because so many times people who give the eulogies and write the eulogies don't know shit about the dead person.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Um, and he said there's been quite a few times as well with the pastors or the priests where he's gotten up and said, "Hey, the deceased said they don't want a religious funeral. So what are we doing?"
Oh,
Um,
oh my
but
God.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he does that, and he gives, he lets everything out, and he leaves. That's all he does. Um,
That's brilliant.
yeah. It's pretty amazing with all that. But yeah, and that got me to thinking with the PIs too, with that private security guard who shot somebody at that protest.
In
I thought it
Denver.
was interesting. He was a Pinkerton, that guy.
They said he was
Literally hired.
unlicensed.
Yeah. Which I thought was very weird because they're not exactly known for, that kind of an oversight, the
Yeah.
Pinkerton agency. But
I didn't know
uh,
Pinkertons were still in business. I thought they went out of business.
I didn't know they were either. And that's where, when I first saw that, I thought, well, maybe they're using that
Oh, no,
as.
no, no. It's not Pinkerton. It's Plinkerton.
What? Yeah. When I saw that, what I thought that they were using it for was almost like how Kleenex, being a brand, kind of got
Yeah,
generalized.
right.
Pinkerton, to some degree, kind of got generalized for private security too, or private detectives. But doing a little bit of digging, yeah, he was Pinkerton Agency.
I that would have been more likely 100 years ago to be the case than today. Yes,
Yes.
Pinkerton's not a name that people are just going to roll out when they think of private detectives or private
Oh
security.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
with most people, but if you look at people who are crime writers in the media,
yeah.
sometimes it's a go-to with that. Um, but yeah, that would have been more likely 100 years ago too, because there was a lot more corruption back then,
Well, I mean, yeah, yeah,
especially with the agencies.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. Somebody screwed the pooch hiring that guy.
yeah, they absolutely did. Um, but yeah, and then, man, the other news, that guy in India carrying his wife's severed head.
Oh my word!
And wow, she apparently it was a case of infidelity. I guess a crime of passion with what he did. Um,
Well, I will give him this. I mean, I don't know if India has an insanity defense, but that's a pretty strong argument in favor of an insanity defense.
yeah,
For
yeah,
those who
and
don't
even
know, there's video of a guy in a town in northern India walking through the streets carrying the severed head of his
y-
wife, and he went to the
yeah,
police department with it.
yes, yep, he did. And yeah, I wonder if they are they under British common law still?
They might have adopted it themselves. I mean, we did.
Yeah, I wondered about that. Might check that while we're sitting here, but yeah, I mean, absolutely, that was just messed up beyond recognition.
Yeah.
Then, of course, he had the 5-year-old who was fighting off home invaders. Man,
Yeah, talk about
that was
Home Alone style stuff.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that was sad and kind of cool at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that's really all that we had with the news stuff. Get into the feet, the
Well,
unhappy
I,
feet.
I wanna. I mean, it's not crime related, but I can't not talk about the jetpack guy.
Oh, well, technically that's crime related.
I
It's a
guess it
crime to
is. I
do what
guess
he
it is
did.
because he's violating secure airspace, and
Yeah.
so so for the second time in 3 weeks, commercial air crews have spotted a guy flying what appears to be a jetpack over
Yeah.
Los Angeles,
Over LAX.
over
Yep.
LAX. And the first time he was spotted at 3,000 feet, this time 6,000 feet up, which
Wow.
is astonishing to say the least. Um, the the work with jetpacks so far has been super dangerous and experimental and nowhere near 3,000 feet of flying. I mean, mostly they've been able to hover for a couple of seconds, and that's about it.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't know much about it, but um
I mean,
yeah.
there is a guy who has developed a jet wing, um, for flying with jet engines, but he has to drop from like a helicopter. He cannot climb to altitude,
Wow.
but
Hey, I guess
he can control his flight really well, and he can fly for about a minute.
mhm.
So
Um
to have enough power to get to 6,000 feet um, means he's done something quite remarkable with his power source. But
And
nobody
what
knows
could
who he
that
is.
power source be?
I have
Yeah,
no
that
idea.
would be.
I have no idea what that could be. I mean,
And then my other question with that,
it was alien
because
technology, obviously.
yeah, maybe it was a probe and it was shooting out of his ass, but
Don't they talk about this in the Masonic meetings?
oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's just when you get into the Scottish Rite and then up into the Illuminati. But my other question with that, not knowing much about the technology,
Yeah.
would there be any practical reason that he would want to test around crowded airspace?
I would think the opposite. I mean,
That's what I would think too.
because if you're a guy who's got the pocket change to develop this technology, you can, rent a van and go out to Death Valley.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right?
go out in the middle of the desert somewhere and
Yeah.
do it.
There's a reason why Edwards is in the middle of nowhere. Or, I mean, it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when things go
mean-
bad, you don't want to be dropping in on somebody's house.
Yeah. Yeah, and it absolutely was something like that. Which would lead me, at least, to believe we're dealing with one hell of a narcissist here at some level. This guy wants some attention.
And yet he
For what he
doesn't
did.
yet.
Yeah, that's the weird thing.
Yeah.
He wants at least enough to do it in the airspace. But yeah, it's just
It's very
weird.
curious. It's very curious. I can't wait till we know more about Jetpack Guy. And we will keep you
Oh,
up
yeah.
to date if there's more.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be watching that story and we'll be posting to the page and talking about it too. I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah,
All
there was
right.
a headline I read a bit about a cannibal too, but I need to dig more into that before we really talk about it.
Yeah, that was a juicy one.
Yeah, yeah. Dig into the primary sources, because the one where I saw it was just a aggregate source that doesn't exactly do, the actual research. So, tell us a bit about the Salish Sea. 'Cause
Salish.
I have never
Salish.
been there. Oh, Salish. Okay.
Yeah, Salish Sea was discovered by Captain James Cook. Cook.
Oh, wow.
Captain Cook, who, most people know he discovered Hawaii,
Hmm.
for example. But he also sailed up the Pacific coast of North America looking for the same thing that Lewis and Clark were looking for,
The Northwest Passage.
Northwest Passage.
Oh, wow.
And he got up to what is now the Strait of Juan de Fuca, which runs between the Olympic Peninsula and Vancouver Island. And he sailed in
Wow.
there and he explored all around in there. And the Salish Sea, he called it the sea in the forest.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Yeah, that would make sense with all the timber out there.
Well, and the reason he called it that is because most of the coastline, the trees go right down to the water.
oh, wow. Dang.
And,
Man.
and so finding any kind of a beach at all is not especially easy. Well, easier by boat, I would think. Uh, but
Mhm.
they're pretty they're fairly rare considering, like according to this, there are 4,600 miles of coastline.
Wow. Dang.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize. So there's two straits in there. The Strait of Georgia, that one is unfamiliar to me. I didn't read about it, but
Well,
did read a little bit
yeah.
on the Juan de Fuca.
Juan de Fuca, yeah.
Fuca.
And so this little tip, so the southern edge of Juan de Fuca is the Olympic Peninsula of Washington, and following that to the far left, you get to Cape Flattery, uh, and that is the um, westernmost point of the contiguous 48 states, right
Oh
there.
wow.
Um,
Oh wow, man, that's amazing. And now, who is Juan de Fuca? That's a name that's
oh, I
unfamiliar
forgot.
to
I
me.
have no idea.
It's like
Nobody
Captain
can
Cook,
remember
of
that.
course, is familiar. Lewis and Clark too. In fact, their starting point, as you know, wasn't far from me at all. Was St. Louis
Yeah,
um, when they went across the country. But yeah, Juan de Fuca. That's a name I'm going to have to research after the show,
there
just for my
are
own curiosity.
there are still gun emplacements from 100 years ago along. I mean, they're deactivated, but the bases are
Hmm.
still there, and the bunkers are still there because the strait um, was a vulnerable spot for any invading navy, and
Hmm.
so there are gun emplacements established along there in several locations to shoot up any ships. There's also
Yeah.
um, there's a naval air station. There's the Bangor um, submarine base where the nuclear submarines are based down in Puget
Wow.
Sound. Bremerton Naval Shipyard, where carriers and other naval ships are brought in for refitting or
Wow.
decommissioning as well. Um,
Wow.
so the Salish Sea is somebody called it the world's largest toilet, and and by that they meant it flushes twice a day. Like essentially all of the water in that entire Salish Sea is exchanged, goes out to the ocean and back in twice a day.
Oh wow.
Um,
That is incredible.
it's so there are some very deep, very strong currents. There are places where between the islands where the currents run into each other going around the islands, and you get these standing waves that are 3, 4 feet high.
Wow.
um, and
Now
it,
look, I'm looking at the map, but one other question I would have that would have some bearing on
yeah.
that. How many rivers or and tributaries feed into it? I was trying to get
Oh,
an
you
idea
could
by looking at
no,
it.
you cannot guess that from this little bit of a map. But there are literally, I don't know, 10,000 maybe.
Wow,
Um,
man.
you can't. There are so many rivers. you can't you can't drive a mile without crossing a river. It seems like.
Dang. Man. Another reason that the Pacific Northwest is so good for dumping bodies, that would mean a lot of bridges too, I would imagine.
So many bridges, so many bridges. I mean, I think if I could be alert enough to try and count how many bridges I cross in one day, that would be an interesting number to kind of
Wow.
figure out. But it would easily be high double digits.
Reminds me of the Louisiana Bayou. Man. But
And one of the other things is that the largest octopi in the world live in the Salish Sea in Puget Sound.
early.
Yeah.
Wow. Now and forgive my ignorance on that, but that's opposed to the giant squid
Yeah, not the giant
recently
squid,
discovered.
not the
Okay.
squids, but the octopi, especially down around the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. which gained infamy back in the turn of the previous century because it fell down.
Oh wow,
It,
man.
it got a buildup of harmonic tremors, and it just shook itself to pieces, and it got
Huh.
caught on film. These Tin
Wow.
Lizzies sitting out on this bridge that spans 200 feet or more across.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I would say it's probably 600 yards. So yeah, it's a very long bridge and very high up, and it's bouncing around. The bridge deck is bouncing up and down. 50 feet.
Wow. Yeah,
Uh,
that's incredible.
yeah.
And now that we have an idea of that, getting into the feet from the number that I saw from 2007 to I believe it was April of 2019, there's been 21 feet discovered. Did you? Is there a different number? Is there a more updated number?
um, what was the most recent one?
Let me. The one that I saw that was most recent was April 2019.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But
I haven't heard of anything new
okay,
since then.
so 21 feet have washed up randomly on these beaches, which is a rather bizarre thing.
Yeah,
The
you just don't hear about. And one of the weird things this just doesn't happen other places, right?
no, no, as far as I could tell from research, no.
But
Um,
these things have shown up from, way up north in the Georgia Strait to Bremerton, to, Victoria, Vancouver, down into Puget Sound and along the coast. But it's all in this one, I mean, relatively small region.
yeah, which is bizarre. And looking at the list here, the first one, although to put a little bit of a caveat on there, the rather extensive Reddit thread on this says that the first one that was found there was, quote, a leg in 1885.
Oh,
Um, and then nothing until 2007. And
yeah,
I
that's,
will,
it's, I could see that gap making a lot of sense, except I would have bet money that it would have been more like the 70s or 80s and not '07.
mm-hmm. Uh, I wonder if there might have been unconnected reports with that,
Mm,
maybe somewhat buried, that nobody's been able to dig out.
maybe.
Um, but the ones that I have listed, the first one in '07 was August 20th, 2007 at Jedediah Island, British Columbia. Um,
Yeah, and you just cannot appreciate how isolated some of these areas are. That you can only get to them by boat,
mhm.
right? I mean, the fact that they're an island kind of gives that away. But even mainland areas, even areas on Vancouver Island, which is massive, by the way, it's a huge island. But a lot of areas are not accessible by road.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to the fact that anything is found at all in these areas is pretty amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll get to why a lot of these are being found in shoes, or my idea as to why they are.
Okay.
A theory, but
Well, that is a point to bring up, and that if you notice from the map that we're looking at, you see a bunch of shoes,
yeah,
sneakers in
yeah,
particular.
yeah, and
Feet in shoes, severed feet in shoes. That is a kind of defining characteristic of what we're talking about here.
yes, um, and a lot of the pictures that I sent for our slideshow were shots of the actual feet from a few of the reports, anyway. Not all, but a bit of the details from the Wikipedia page about this, because yes, it does have its own Wikipedia page too.
Of course it
The
does.
the August 20th discovery: a girl visiting from Washington picked up a size 12 Adidas shoe and opened the sock to find a man's right foot. I don't know how you can necessarily tell that it's a man's just by looking at a foot.
Well, if it's like a size 12, there you go.
Yeah,
Good
I,
chance.
yeah, a good chance, but not definitive until you have a forensic
Yeah.
anthropologist look at the bones in it. That's a fascinating field for study too, if people haven't looked into it.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, and the thoughts were with that, it is thought to have become disarticulated due to submerged decay. And an interesting side note: this kind of shoe was produced in 2003 and distributed mainly in India.
Oh, interesting.
It doesn't exactly narrow it down people-wise with the size of that
Right.
country, but
Which
yeah.
brings up another point about the this area, and that is the ocean currents come
Uh-huh.
from the South Pacific. And well, they come from the Eastern Pacific, but during the summer months, the currents come up from the South Pacific along the coast, and during the winter, more the middle Pacific. One of the
Mm-hmm.
reasons why we do not have the bone chilling winters like they get in, say, Chicago, is that
Yep.
we get the trade winds and the currents from the southern regions through here in the winter, and that
Mm-hmm.
keeps us from turning into, giant piles of ice. Otherwise, we would be literally buried in snow
Oh yeah.
with the
Yeah,
amount
like,
of precipitation. Imagine the precipitation that we get coming in as snow all winter long. It'd be like living in Sweden.
oh yeah. Or in Minnesota too. My
Yeah.
mother told me stories of that, with literally their entire front door and windows being buried in
Yeah.
snow up there. But yeah, let's see, oh wow, the next foot was discovered only 6 days later in Gabriola Island, British Columbia. A man's right foot, but this time discovered by a couple, um, also disarticulated due to decay. It
Hmm.
appeared to have been taken ashore by an animal with that. And size 12 white Reebok, produced in 2004, sold worldwide, but primarily in North America. Uh,
Interesting.
yeah. And
So,
let's,
so the first one was a shoe that was primarily sold in India, and the second one was sold in North America.
yes. And the Wikipedia page, although this one I would have to check out the veracity of the last part of it. The remains were identified as those of a man suffering from depression.
What?
That's
You can tell
kind of
that from a
general.
foot?
Yeah.
I find that a little hard to swallow.
Yeah, I'm looking at the source for that now. It's a reliable source, CBC News, Canada.
Oh, you think that's reliable? That's Canada.
Yeah,
Have you ever
they have
been to
square
Canada? Have
heads.
you ever been to Canada? Come on.
They have square heads and they talk like Terrence and Phillip. I love
And they
South
put
Park,
gravy
but
on their French fries.
hey, buddy. That's my crappy Canada impression. Sorry, Kelly Evans.
That's pretty bad.
uh, let's see. According to the article, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police say that all 5 feet discovered off British Columbia's south coast in the past year, encased in athletic shoes. Okay, where is this about the Indian man? Because that was what DNA tests on the 5 feet found on shorelines confirmed 2 were from the same person.
Oh,
But no signs any were severed from bodies by tools or trauma. They said Thursday, and let me find the date on that article, 2008.
yeah, they're saying number 4 and number 6 were connected. Or they used to be.
Yeah, the one in May 08.
Yes.
Yeah, from a female, Kirkland Island. Let's see. Remains of a right foot, remains of a left foot. Trying to find out where they found out the Indian man. Distributed primarily in India. Yeah, that's all they got. I don't know how they found out it was a man. So yeah, we'll take that bit with the grain of salt. Although it is likely that it could have been a suicide.
Yes.
Not necessarily what they're saying on the Wikipedia page of this particular suicide, which I think is implied from the verbiage there, but it is likely it could have been a suicide from somebody drowning themselves.
True.
Um,
There are literally uncountable places to drown yourself.
yes. Oh yeah. I mean, all over the place there. And let's see, I'm just looking at the list again. February 8th, 08, Valdez. Right foot, size 11 Nike. Let's see, that was a North Surrey man, which I guess is a city on Vancouver Island. Going by that map,
Which one are we on now?
I was looking at, damn it, and it just,
Does it correlate to the map?
it should, it was a Surrey. 2 human feet belonging to, okay, here we go. This is the Globe and Mail from 2011, May 25th,
Oh,
2011.
Fraser River?
Yeah. Belonging to a 21-year-old Surrey man reported missing 4 years earlier. They were holding back the ID, however. because of the family's request for privacy. Steve Fonseca, manager of the Identification and Disaster Response Unit of the Chief Coroner's Office, said. The feet had not been removed from a body, but rather had detached in the natural manner that occurs in a watery environment, said the coroner's service. Foul play ruled out in that one. And now they may be noticing a trend with a lot of that.
Yeah, they keep saying that, these feet were detached, and I guess the way to put it is they were detached but not severed.
Yeah.
In other words, they weren't cut off.
Yes. And while I'm pretty sure some of them detached due to trauma from, falling or what have you, or going against, let's say, a tree root or a rock.
Yeah.
They were not severed. They were not. Most of them were not detached due to trauma. Most of them were detached due to decay.
Right.
And now let's see, back to the list. June 6, 2008, Westham Island, British Columbia. Man's left foot found by 2 hikers. Let's see. It has been confirmed that the left foot found on June 16th on Westham Island, which was this one, and the right foot found on February 8th, which was number 3, belonged to the same man. And let's see the source on that. It is CBC, but there's a second source as well. Toronto Star is the second one.
Man, it's hard to. Oh, there was number 4. Yeah, this looks like the same shoe, New Balance.
Yep, a New Balance sneaker manufactured in 1999. Belonging to the same man.
So I want to just do a quick little interjection here. Did you ever hear about the container ship of rubber duckies that fell overboard?
I think I did. Wasn't that in the Atlantic?
No, it was in the Pacific.
Oh, okay, maybe not then.
Well, the thing of it is it was exactly what it sounds like, a container. So containers fall off of ships all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy to me. They don't really seem to do anything to secure them. They just pile them up, and if they fall off, oh well, you got insurance, hopefully. And one of the containers that fell off out in the middle of the Pacific had thousands upon thousands of little yellow rubber duckies.
Wow. Where did most of them wash up?
Exactly. Well, they dispersed a little bit. And what they have been able to do with these is they're like little tracking devices of currents. Because they will show up, and then they can see, well, it took X amount of time for it to get from the point of origin to here, and it's provided actually a wealth of information about the ocean currents.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One thing I was surprised about, reading a couple of scientists, a couple of oceanographers, they were saying that oceanography is a surprisingly young science.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Oh, absolutely.
Which I would I would have thought it would have been older, but nope.
No, not really, because all anybody cared about oceanography was how to get across it.
Yeah, very true. Not until I guess the environmental movement and what have you.
Yeah. Jacques Cousteau spearheaded a lot of that. I mean,
Oh, wow.
uh, he did a lot to get people interested in the oceans. And he invented the scuba tank.
Mm, yeah,
Um,
that he did.
the reason I bring it up is that I believe one of the theories is that at least some of these people could have fallen off of ships out at sea,
Oh, yeah.
and the currents
Oh, I
brought
think
their
it's
feet.
definitely.
The currents brought them to this area,
Hmm.
and
And
the rubber duckies prove that stuff that floats and stays afloat and doesn't completely decay can wander around the ocean for years before
oh,
reaching a
yeah.
shore.
Oh, absolutely. And a big reason that that is feet for the most part is because they're the most easily detachable and buoyant
Right.
parts of the body.
Yeah, these
Uh,
sneakers are little flotation devices for toes.
yeah, and those too,
Yeah.
definitely. And I think that would explain if there indeed was the 1885 thing, you're going to have much heavier footwear back then
Mhm.
for people.
Right.
Versus today with the foam and the plastic and what have you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, that oldie time case of the legs showing up um, seems especially unusual because he would it would have if it was in a boot, it would have been leather, which will
hmm
sink, get waterlogged and sink just like anything else.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, most definitely. Which I mean, like I said, I haven't investigated that. That's just what somebody said on
Yeah.
Reddit, if indeed it did happen. Um, but yeah, let's see. Where were we with the list here? Uh, let's see. Near, how do you say that? Pysith? Pysht, Washington.
Where are we at? Number what? 7?
Six.
Six?
6 is where I was. Right foot inside a man's black size 11 shoe, discovered by a camper covered in seaweed. Less than 16 kilometers from the international border in the Strait of Juan de Fuca.
I'm not seeing that on the map. Must be not direct correlation.
Um, Apparently, this one decayed more than the others because the sources say that it contained bones and flesh.
Mm.
Um, this was the first in a series to be found outside of British Columbia, which the next one was in Richmond. Well, the next two actually in Richmond. Um, let's see, woman's left foot in the Fraser River in Richmond.
Right.
Shoe was described as a small New Balance running shoe, possibly a woman's shoe. DNA profiling, it was a genetic match to the foot discovered on May 22nd on Kirkland Island, which was number 4.
Gotcha.
Okay, got it. Let's see.
Yeah, this map that goes number 1 through 14 or something like that. This is all just
Mhm.
Canada, because there are finds in Washington too.
Oh yeah, yeah. The next one that I had in Washington was actually number 9, Whidbey Island, a
I
woman's
love
or
Whidbey Island.
child's. Yeah,
I want to live there.
a woman's or child's right foot without a shoe or sock. I'm bringing up the source
Oh,
for
without a shoe.
that's the Post Intelligencer. Foot
Fish
determined
wrap.
to. Well, yeah, this foot was determined to have been in the water for 2 months. Um,
What? And it still had flesh on it?
um, yeah. How was the August there in 2010? That's when it was found. So
Oh,
temperature can do a lot with that,
that
with
was
decay.
10 years ago, for heaven's sakes. Well, it
Yeah.
wasn't it wasn't El Nino because I remember that. That was after that was El Nino was very weird because I went out into the ocean and it was warm, and you never get that here.
Oh wow. Yeah. Um. Yeah. That's another. It might be a stupid question, but that's another thing I forgot to ask.
Was that?
Is the Salish saltwater or
Oh,
freshwater?
absolutely salt water. Yeah, it's ocean
Okay.
water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure of that. Let's see.
Yeah, we have orcapods, 3 orcapods, and
Hmm.
we'll get gray whales and several other species of whales that'll come in, wander around looking for food.
Yeah, that's what I was reading. There's a lot of those in there. A lot of species of everything.
Yeah, very
But
very vibrant marine life.
wow, man. I, okay, yeah, number 10, December 5th, 2010 was Tacoma, found on the tidal flats.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I used to live just a couple miles from there.
oh wow. Man, yeah, this is a quote. The right foot was still inside a boy's size 6 Ozark Trail hiking boot and likely belonged to a juvenile or small adult.
Okay,
Police
so
spokesman Mark Fulgham said Tuesday.
that
That is the Vancouver Sun.
that is what year was that?
December 5th, 2010.
Really?
Yep.
I don't remember that. But so adults disappear all the time. Literally every day, people disappear and they're never seen again. Right?
Hmm. Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it takes a long time for anybody to even know they're gone if they live a very isolated type lifestyle without a lot of friends and family. Um,
Hmm.
but kids,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
a child's foot and nobody's going, hey, where's my kid?
Juvenile or small adult.
Yeah,
A juvenile could mean a runaway,
could
as sad
be.
as that
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah, could be.
Um, let's see. But 11 and 12 were both British Columbia. 11, sex unknown. The foot was found in a man's white and blue size 9 runner. That was False Creek, British Columbia, August 30th, 2011. November 4th, 2011 was 12. Sassamat Lake, British Columbia. Man's right foot inside a size 12 hiking boot. Discovered by a group of campers in a pool of fresh water at Sassamat Lake near Port Moody.
Okay, so that's an outlier, isn't it?
Yeah. How would it get in there? Maybe a tributary? that would lead to it?
No, so this is not like rivers you may be familiar with, where where it's all
Uh
flat
huh.
for miles. Uh,
Yeah.
no, this is rivers here run pretty steep
Wow.
until you get to the coastline. But even then, things are not. Yeah, currents. You don't get salt water running up the rivers.
Mm-hmm.
That
Okay.
does happen in some places in the world, but not here. So, um, and they said this was on a lake anyway. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
feet
That's a
feet do
bizarre
not
one.
go up river to spawn.
That's true. I was wondering if that one would have been an animal, but they actually identified this guy.
Oh,
The British Columbia Coroner's Service identified it as Stefan Zahurjuko. A local fisherman went missing in 1987.
whoa.
And I was just bringing up the article. It is CBC, foot found in lake. 25-year-old disappearance of a Vancouver man. Foot bones washed ashore, the coroner says, in Sassamat Lake. I'm looking, there's foul play. 65 years old, Stefan Zahurjuko was fishing alone when he
Yeah,
disappeared in his overturned boat. Okay.
yeah. You
Was
know
later
what?
found drifting in the lake.
Just don't do that shit, man. Don't go out alone. Don't go out
Yeah.
alone.
Um,
Bad
any
things
idea how
happen.
big that lake is?
No, I have no idea.
I wonder how big, and I would wonder how deep it is. Because what you could, in theory, do, they found his boat overturned the next morning. And what you could do, if it's not that deep, just drag the damn thing. Just drag the lake.
Oh, it's not very big. 111 acres.
Yeah. I mean, just drag it and see if you can find it. If you're not seeing a body on the surface.
Yeah.
Why wait 25 years? That's weird.
Yeah. Um, you know, the answer to that may be it's really deep, and that's often the
Yeah,
case. That's often the case with lakes around here that they're, hundreds of feet deep.
yeah, yeah. Was my question there, but part of that. Um. Oh, but yeah, the next one, number 13, December 10th, 2011. We're back in Washington, Lake Union.
What? That's
Yep.
that's Seattle. I mean,
Yeah.
literally the city of.
Human leg bone and foot in a black plastic bag under the Ship Canal Bridge. This has to be foul play.
Yeah,
That's
in
the
a
Seattle
bag.
Times. Yeah. Um, they, as of January 2nd, 2012, the medical examiner had found no cause of death or identified it. So you have a John or Jane Doe with that one.
Which brings to mind, just this year, I think there was plastic bags of body parts found, bags full,
Uh-huh.
and not just feet.
Oh, was that in the
No, it
recycling
was in the
bins?
water.
Oh, yeah, I had actually watched a show about a guy who um, dumped it. He cut up a woman and dumped her in a few different recycling bins, and I think it was in
Oh, this
Um,
was oh, how ironic. This was in June, and they were found at Alki Point, which, guess what? That's where Captain Cook landed.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Um, Two bodies found in several bags in the water
Hmm. Wow.
last June. I'm
Man.
thinking those are not natural causes.
Yeah, I was just digging deeper. This is a volunteer helping the homeless. Found a human leg bone and a foot in a black plastic bag.
Wow.
Um, Heroes for the Homeless founder, Trisha Lapitan, said a group of 3 volunteers was in the 3100 block of Fairview Avenue in the East Lakewood neighborhood at about 10 a.m. when one of them stepped on it on a small hillside. Um,
But they don't walk that trail anymore.
it, man, her quote was, "I guess it was from the knee down, and it was pretty decomposed." And
So for cinematic references, that's kind of the area of where um, of the houseboat on You've Got Mail.
oh, really
Yeah.
interesting. Let's see. Oh, skipping ahead 14. Skipping ahead, that is, to January 26, 2012. This is Vancouver. The remains of, quote, what appears to be human bones inside a boot, found inside the sand along the water line at the dog park near the Maritime Museum at the foot of Arbutus Street.
Wow.
And skipping ahead with the dates to May 6th, 2014, we're back in Seattle. Human foot in white New Balance shoe found along the shoreline of Centennial Park near the Pier 86 grain terminal.
Oh man.
Um,
I know exactly.
source,
I know exactly where that is.
tell us a bit about that. I've
Well,
never, of
so
course, been there.
um, um, Seattle sits on a little inlet called Elliott Bay, and it's a really great place for boats because it stays
Hmm.
deep all the way up to the shoreline. Uh, really, and um, so south of Seattle, you have the football stadium and Harbor Island, where a lot of the container ships go, and then you have the main downtown area, and then a little bit north of that, you have the Space Needle, and to the west of that, you along the water is where the grain terminals are, and also now you have the cruise ships dock there, the ones that go up to Alaska.
Oh,
And then just
wow.
around the bend of the shoreline, you have a very nice little um, um I just lost a word. The place where they park small boats.
Oh, just like a pier
Well,
sort of thing? A dock? A
all where they put a
small
lot of
dock?
them. What's the word?
Yeah.
What's the word? Oh God.
Yeah, and if you go to lakes here, they just call that docks, or a pier for a lot of them.
Well, docks and
Um,
a pier are temporary, but these are for where they store them in between
oh,
uses. Oh
okay.
God, I can't
I'm
believe I
trying
can't
to
think of
think
that.
I'm trying to think of that too from the Lake of the Ozarks, which people will know if they watch the Netflix series Ozark. They call it the Redneck Riviera down there. It's a gigantic man-made lake, but they got a bunch of them down there where people permanently park too. That's about maybe
there's a word for that, and I can't even think of what it is.
2.5 hours
Marina.
from here, but
Jesus.
Marina. There we go. Yeah, that's a much better word. But let's see. Yeah, that one that we were just talking about, source was Q13 Fox. The Port of Seattle police say the foot inside a white New Balance sneaker was found at about 11 a.m. along the rocky shore of Puget Sound at Seattle's Centennial Park near Pier 86.
Yeah, that's the Centennial Park is a place where there were dilapidated piers, and that nobody could afford to ever rebuild because they were so worn out, and so they just tore them down and made a park right there on the waterfront.
Oh, wow. Man, let's see. 16. We are back in 16 and 17. Oh, and 18 we're back in Vancouver. The first one was February 7th, 2016. Hikers on Botanical Beach near Port Renfrew on Vancouver Island found in a sock and a running shoe. Wow, the second one with that was only 5 days later. And also near Port Renfrew. And that matches the first one. So you got both of those. Pulling up the source. Looking for foul play. And then the next one that I mentioned in Vancouver. Remains of a leg with a shoe attached washed up to the near settlement of Jordan River on Vancouver Island.
Aha.
Second Foot watches. This is the Globe and Mail, British Columbia.
Yeah, so just to give hold on, I want to do a little comparison here.
Sure.
Vancouver Island is 12,000 square miles.
Wow. It is gigantic.
And just for comparison, Manhattan, 22 square miles, almost 23.
Yeah. Yep.
So Manhattan would be a little tiny tip of Vancouver Island. and the population is surprising, 800,000.
Oh, wow.
But almost all of those live in a very small area in the southern end, with a few scattered settlements and Indian towns, or First Nations towns they call them up there, villages along the coastline.
Oh.
So
that's another question I would have, why they haven't, spread out a little bit more with that amount of space.
Who hasn't?
And the people, the 800,000 settled mostly in the south.
Sure, because that's where the commerce is.
That's true.
They are
Yeah.
literally a bridge away from Vancouver, um, and or bridge or ferry ride from Vancouver or Washington. You can take a ferry from Seattle to Victoria on Vancouver Island, which is a little fake British town.
Uh,
It's very touristy. Um, but yeah, people work in Vancouver and live on Vancouver Island a lot of
oh,
times. Yeah. Once you
I
get away,
see.
once you get away from there, it's really hard to make a living.
Wow. Oh man, this stupid computer. Hold on just a second. I just got a date notice. I gotta hit snooze. Thank you. Uh, um, yeah, anyway. Yeah, they were saying with that one also no foul play. Um, and then where were we? I just lost my spot with the list. Uh, May 6, 2018 is number 19. Gabriola Island. Um, a hiking boot found by a hiker with a human foot inside wedged in a log jam. Interesting. The 20 was September. No exact date on that, not sure why. Foot within a light gray Nike Free RN shoe on the shore near the 30th Street Beach access point in West Vancouver. The size 9.5 shoe was manufactured between 1st of February and the 17th of April 2017. Blue sock believed to have been worn by a male. Hmm. And then the last one
Dun dun dun.
so far, January 1, 2019, actually. We're getting back to Washington again. Jetty Island, Everett, Washington.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Foot found in a boot.
Jetty Island is very close to the ferry you would take to Whidbey Island, where another foot was found.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, this one, they actually tied via DNA to in Antonio Neal, and I'm looking to get more on him from the Everett, Washington Herald Net. Let's see. Ah, crap. That must have been the wrong source. They had another one sitting there, though. Oh, you stupid mouse. There we go.
What's
Uh,
interesting to me is these almost never show up on the what we call the coast, which is, out there where the ocean is, not the Salish Sea.
uh-huh.
They don't show up out there. They show up in the Sound, in the Strait, in uh, the Straits, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Wow.
but not on
Yeah.
not on the. Well, I mean, I guess on the ocean side of. Wasn't there some on the? I thought there was some farther up on the outside western edge of Vancouver Island, but maybe not.
I think so. I'd have to take another look at the list.
Well, I'm just
Now,
going off of the map you provided.
oh wow, I love this sentence. So I found the article that talks about that guy, Antonio Neal, I mentioned,
Yeah.
whose foot it was. A human, this is the sentence. Neal is presumed dead, officials said.
Yeah,
Well,
that's not a huge leap, is it?
presumed dead. been missing for over 2 years before they found his foot. And he's presumed dead. Yeah. It's like, yeah, that's a little ironic. But now his mother, according to this article, believes it was foul play. Her quote might be just grieving, but we are no closer to finding what happened to him. We have a lot of leads that are just rumors. We feel that someone is responsible for this, and we need help finding whoever did this.
Which could very well be the case. Since that's the last one, now's the time to talk about theories. What are some of the theories going around? Obviously, somebody's got to say serial killer, right? Somebody's got to think that.
Yes, there was one, but the first problem with that, when you look at it, it's only a snippet of behavioral evidence. If it were indeed a serial killer, and that's one hell of a leap to me.
I think so, but I mean, people are going to do. That's where a lot of people's thoughts are going to go, right? When there's a bizarre and repetitive cache of feet show up of all things, right?
Yeah. And, it's a little bit like a roulette table when you go into a casino. People are going to try to spot trends where a trend doesn't necessarily exist. And that also, it gets into something that we've talked about before on the show. That is a cognitive bias that we all really have.
Absolutely.
Proportionality bias as well. People think there has to be this sort of big insidious explanation.
Right.
For it.
Large secretive forces at work.
Yeah. But, I mean, I don't know how the listeners feel, but I'm of the opinion that I don't jump to that unless there's hard evidence. Or at least I try not to. But another theory we're looking at with that was the Japanese tsunami causing that, which was
what year?
That's what I'm trying to remember. Hold on, I'm going to Google that.
Yeah, but a great many of these shoes were only sold in North America, so that kind of rules that out. And the first
2011.
And the first one was Indian.
Yeah, that rules it out too. And I did a little bit of research on that one, and I found a blog by a scientist, and he makes it clear this is just a theory and speculation.
Yeah.
But he had something to say about it, and I was just looking for that. Vancouver's coast.
And while you're looking that up, let me point out something else.
Mm-hmm.
If there could be dozens, if not hundreds more feet strewn along the coastline north of Vancouver Island that has no human interaction ever, and nobody would ever find them.
Yeah, that's very true as well. Oh, and we should make it clear, and I guess we kind of did make it clear that even though we think the serial killer explanation is bullshit, we're not ruling out homicide for certain ones.
No.
As we were saying, but this guy, he's an oceanographer at Georgia State. He said that the theory that this is his words, the theory that the feet originate from the tsunami that hit Japan or another disaster at sea are also unlikely, as we have seen that water does not so much enter the Puget Sound but rather flows out to the ocean from the Juan de Fuca Strait,
Mm-hmm.
in his words. And what he goes on to say in this next paragraph, these feet are coming from people who have purposefully or accidentally met their deaths at one of the various bodies of water in the Vancouver area. Let's see. But some people may have concerns about the frequency of these foot sightings. As of his writing, that's my words, 16 in a matter of years.
Right.
This may be attributed to human behavior rather than an increase in bodies.
Well, again, you don't see this happening on Lake Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you definitely don't.
People drown there, for example, willingly, or I mean, you know,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're, you know, whether accidentally or not. Um, and you don't see tennis shoes with feet in them showing up on the Chicago shore.
Yeah, definitely not in that frequency. Oh, and basically what he's getting to with the rest of this paragraph, although it's way long-winded and I'll spare you that part,
Okay.
basically confirmation bias. The media reports on the first ones and people keep looking
Right.
and they find more.
I mean, that's absolutely a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
But again, show me another region that's got 20 feet washing ashore.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
a confirmation bias. That's a real number that isn't happening in other places.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely agree. Although I think the other biases we just talked about were definitely in play with the serial killer explanation.
Well, I mean, it's hard not to living in this area.
Yeah, that's very true. But yeah, I think his point about the tsunami might be right. However,
Yeah, well, and I think I've read somewhere somebody else has speculated it could have been people falling off of boats out at sea.
yeah, and there was another speculation about a plane crash.
But again, we would have known about that.
Yeah, that's true. But
I mean,
now,
the weird thing about this is that most of these they're not. There's no connection to anybody that they know to be missing. I mean, a handful of them. I mean, the people who have, drowned or gone missing or committed suicide or that type of thing. Sure, they know about them, but most of these, the officials are like, no, we have no idea. And that's
go
what,
ahead.
that's really bizarre.
Yeah, that definitely is.
I mean, again, people go missing all the time. People go missing in bodies of water all the time. But generally speaking, somebody notices.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they definitely do. It's got to be washing. I wonder if the best explanation just isn't in those currents and how they got to be washing up from somewhere that is outside the immediate, Vancouver, Washington area too. That you got that mix in there.
It's
The India one.
yeah. How far did that guy travel?
Yeah, I mean that would be
Who knows,
thousands
right? We have a lot of
of
Indian people
miles.
in Washington. Maybe
No?
maybe he came from from India. Maybe he came from Seattle. Who knows?
True. That'll never be explained, I bet. Oh, well, so Vancouver alone is home to, quote, 8 significant bridges, according
Significant bridges.
to.
Significant bridges. That's not counting the little bridges.
Yeah, the out of the way ones.
No, I just mean the ones that, aren't big enough to have names.
Yeah, yeah. Um, oh, and apparently the two that had the positive IDs,
Yeah?
one of them had schizophrenia and stopped taking his meds,
Yeah.
according to the Daily Beast. Um, then this other one, there's a blog that says they had a mental disorder, but it doesn't specify, so take that with a grain of salt.
Right.
But the schizophrenia one
That's
is
pretty
verified.
specific. Yeah.
Yeah. Which isn't, of course, much of a leap when you're talking about suicide either.
So come to the Pacific Northwest, pick up some sand dollars and some feet and tennis shoes when you're out beachcombing. Um,
Buy a fake skeleton and deattach the ankle and put it in a shoe.
yeah, I
See how
mean,
long it takes.
the explanation for why um, how these feet show up, the how of it, it makes perfect sense. Somebody died in the water. The fishies and the crabs and the octopuses and those things, they went to town on everything but the feet because
Yeah.
couldn't or wouldn't eat through the shoes. And one foot stayed underwater, I guess, and
Yeah.
one did not. But it doesn't
I,
explain how they got in the water in the first place for most of the cases.
oh, yeah. Well, and with a lot of these, you're just simply looking at not enough evidence
Right.
to explain much of anything.
Yeah. They don't know. They don't know. They know when the shoes were made, so they can do it's no newer than this. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't know how long they've been in the water. They don't know where they went into the water.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
They could catalog the DNA, but that's only good if he has something to match it to.
it could get you and these days you can get, say, like a genealogical profile, but that's not going to solve much for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's just one that's basically, a shot in the dark, like with the Golden State Killer.
Right.
It's pure dumb luck with something like that. But, yeah, it's a mystery.
Yeah. Still.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's Sasquatch. That's what it is.
He's eating them all and throwing them in.
Yep.
I find it hilarious how people still perpetrate that or perpetuate that myth.
Sasquatch?
You, well, yeah, when you had the guy who was found making prints in the woods with big feet. Back in,
yeah.
what was that,
There
like
have
the
been
50s or the 30s?
Yeah, and the guy who did the Mount Shasta, the very famous film that's really started the modern craze back in '68, I think it was, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, one of the guy who wore the suit confessed to doing it, and what's hilarious about it is they interviewed this guy at some bar in Yakima over here, on the other side of the mountains, and they had him walk along a wall, and they did a split screen with the footage of the Sasquatch in the, and he moved exactly the same, exactly the same,
Oh man.
exactly the same. He moved it. It was hilarious.
It's just like the famous photo of the Loch Ness Monster
Oh,
where
yeah.
you find out it's a toy submarine from Woolworths with rubber cement on it.
Yeah.
And both of them are total, complete bullshit.
Well, unless there's a
Sorry
Sasquatch
again, Kelly
graveyard,
Evans.
like
uh,
Sasquatch doesn't eat feet, apparently.
nope. I guess not. Oh, man.
But I tell you what, every time I drive through the mountains, I keep an eye out just in case.
Just in case there's a... Oh, just in case there's a Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Just in case there's a foot.
Oh, no, no, no.
Uh,
But, I mean, I don't think there's a Sasquatch, but I could be wrong. I'm willing to be wrong, but I got to see it.
yeah. It's true.
And they're supposedly all over the place out here, so come on,
Supposedly.
Sasquatch, show yourself.
uh,
I'll make you famous.
I like at Penn and Teller's old show Bullshit. They did an episode on cryptozoology, and
Yeah.
they defined cryptozoology as zoology, meaning the study of animals, and crypto, meaning shit we made up. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, pretty much.
But, oh, this has been fun.
This has
fun
been
to-
very fun.
Yeah, good show. And I think that's all I got on it.
I think I'm done as well. Tapped out.
Yeah,
Tapped out. Ha 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 ha.
me too.
Tap dancing out. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.